Vril and or Vital Magnetism by William Walker Atkinson. Chapter 6 was Vril in Food and Water. This, though, is Chapter 7, Vril in the Air. As we said in a previous lesson, Vril is found in a high degree in the precise combination required for transmutation into human vital energy and nervous force in the atmospheric air, which man constantly breathes into his lungs. But science does not admit this any more than it does the existence of Vril in food and water. To science, air is merely a combination of oxygen and nitrogen, with a mixture of carbureted hydrogen and carbonic acid, plus a trace of ammonia, and a suggestion of the four newly discovered atmospheric elements argon, krypton, targon, and neon. Or more strictly, oxygen and nitrogen, holding a mixture of several other substances in small proportions. But the occult teachings have always held that in the atmospheric air of the Earth, there is to be found Vril in a high degree of potency, and to exist in a condition which renders it very easily absorbed and assimilated by the nervous system of plants, animals, and human beings. It would seem that the special combination of oxygen and nitrogen produces a condition in which the element of Vril is easily liberated under certain conditions, in such form as to be easily transmuted and absorbed. To the physiologist, the sole purpose of breathing is that of oxygenating the blood and burning up the waste matter of the system. And so important is this function that man is unable to exist for more than a few minutes without fresh air. Without correct habits of breathing, no living creature can hope to live the average lifetime of its kind. So much importance does modern hygiene attach to the subject of correct breathing, that a vigorous attack is being made upon the old-fashioned habit of keeping houses and rooms tightly closed, and a campaign of open-air cure is underway under the leadership of enthusiastic physicians. But, highly important as is this function of breathing, is no more important than the twin function attached to it by the arcane teaching. The arcane teaching, excuse me, one moment here. The latter is the function by means of which the human system absorbs, transmutes, and stores away a supply of Vril from the atmospheric air in the course of ordinary breathing. When it is known that at least 85% of the Vril used in the human body is obtained directly from the air, the importance of breathing in relation to this function may be appreciated. Not only does the human system obtain Vril directly from the air, but it obtains it indirectly also from the same source. For instance, the Vril in the food has originally been obtained from the air. Also, it is known that the inherent charge of Vril in water has been in some way absorbed from the air. Water that has become stale may be given new energy by being poured from cup to cup in such a way as to allow it to pass through the air. And, excuse me one more moment. And it is a matter of common knowledge that distilled water lacks a something that can be given it only by passing it through the air in the manner above described. And that something is Vril. The arcane teaching is not explicit in the direction of explaining the exact physiological process by which the system acquires its supply of Vril from the air in the ordinary process of breathing. All that is said on this score would seem to indicate that the sympathetic nervous system plays an important part in the absorption and transmutation, and that the various ganglia and plexi of the system act as storage batteries or reservoirs of Vril, from which the entire nervous system draws its regular supply and its emergency supply in case of unusual need. Moreover, all the occult teachings insist that the preliminary absorption of vril is dependent to some extent upon the passage of air through the nasal passages and of the continuation thereof, and that mouth breathing in some way fails to produce the same result. It is thought probable that some of the delicate nerves which are involved in the sense of smell may in some way have a secondary part to play in the preliminary function of the absorption of vril. Well, it's a fact acknowledged by physiologists that persons who breathe through the mouth are not nearly so healthy as those who habitually breathe through the nostrils. This fact is known to the savage races, many of whom take great care in forcing their infants to acquire the habit of nostril breathing and to avoid mouth breathing. Children afflicted with adenoids, or a growth or swelling produced by the overgrowth of the adenoid tissue in the roof of the pharynx, which interfere with correct nasal breathing, are usually deficient in physical and mental vigor. The slight operation required for the removal of the growth works almost a miracle. The former sufferers manifesting from the start increased physical vitality and mental energy. In many other ways, the report of modern physiology agrees with that of the ancient occult teachings regarding the matter of nostril breathing, as compared with mouth breathing. Occultists who practice breathing methods for the purpose of the absorption of vril frequently moisten each nostril before beginning their exercises. This plan is held to increase the power of the nerves of the nasal channel, and to increase the sense of smell as well. Some of the Oriental occultists draw water by suction up through the nasal passages, allowing it to escape through the mouth by means of the canal connecting the nose with the throat. This plan, by the way, is said to be a preventive of nasal disorders such as catarrh. The nostrils should always be kept clear of obstructions, and a healthy condition preserved. Another fact known to the ancient occultists, which also is unknown to modern physiology, is that the individual may largely influence the power of absorption of vril by the action of the mind, in the form of ideation and use of willpower. That is to say, by the familiar process of visualization, or the forming of a mental picture, backed up by the use of will. To those who may be skeptical as to the effect of the mind over the physical function of this kind, or a physical function of this kind, we would say that, in the first place, the absorption of vril is somewhat different from the ordinary physiological function, and in fact may be considered rather as a psychophysiological process than a purely physiological one. Vril is not a material substance, but a form of energy of a very subtle nature, filling a space in the scale between matter and mind, and being in a way associated with both. Therefore, it is not unreasonable to suppose that mind may exercise an effect on its absorption. In the second place, it is a well-known fact that the mind may, and often does, have a very marked effect over the ordinary involuntary processes and organs of the body. The history of psychic healing establishes that fact. And moreover, it is known that certain men have developed the power of moving and affecting the involuntary muscles and the sympathetic nervous system by pure acts of will. It's known that thoughts and mental images in the mind of a person may react upon his physical condition, not only in a general way, but even as regards a particular organ or part. Thus, thoughts and mental pictures of diseased lungs or liver, or weak heart, often result in the manifestation of the exact condition previously pictured in the mind. The subconscious mind, operating upon the sympathetic nervous system and guided by the harmful autosuggestion of the person, frequently adversely affects the organ in question and impairs its normal functioning. Well, in the same way, the mental picture of a healthy, normal condition backed up by a strong will to manifest such a condition, very often results in the materialization of the ideal. That's the essence of psychic healing, the very heart of mental science, and of what is called the New Thought, which is attracting so much attention at this time. It may be seen that if the mind is capable of influencing the functions of the body in any way whatsoever, and there is a massive testimony regarding that, which is unquestioned and indisputable, well then, there is nothing to prevent it from influencing the delicate psychophysiological functions involved in the absorption and the transmutation of Vril. Excuse me again. The gastric juices of the stomach are increased by thoughts and mental pictures of favorite foods. The liver is quickened into activity by good spirits and a happy frame of mind. The reproductive organism is peculiarly affected by the imagination. The saliva flows in response to the thought or memory of some pleasant taste. In short, all the bodily functions seem to be more or less under the influence of the power of the mind, and particularly of the imagination, backed up by the will. It's known that the nervous system often gets in a jangle by reason of worry and fear. Excessive emotion affects the nerves and often the brain itself. And what is there then, all right, to seem strange in the idea that the part of the nervous system which is employed in the process of Vril absorption may be encouraged to increased activity by the action of the mind in its phases of ideation and volition. Right? In fact, it would seem very strange if this were not founded to be the case. That would be the strange thing when we consider the general principle of the action of mind upon body. And when this is understood, we may see the real reason and explanation of much in what we call psychic phenomena that has heretofore perplexed us. So, the next chapter, chapter 8, will be Vril and the breath.